is no retakes, and I have started my way through the Marvel Cinematic Universe, starting with Thor. So here's my recollection of the Thor movie. So there's this great kingdom called Asgard, where the Aesir live. So the Aesir live in Asgard, which is this disc world with water falling off all the time, and I don't know where the water goes or where it comes from, really, but anyway, there's this big golden city, and it's enjoyed wonderful prosperity due to the having followed the major wars a long time ago. And it's coronation day for Thor, who's the golden child, the prince of the kingdom. And his brother Loki is a bit troubled by this, because he knows Thor, despite having lived 1,500 years. Loki's about 1,000 years old. They live about at least 5,000. Odin, their father, is 5,000. But Loki knows his brother to be a brash idiot and nowhere near ready to take the throne. He's got the idea, and I think it's justified, that if Thor takes the throne, they're going to be in trouble because Thor will just go to war against anybody who slights him. And he's got the support of this group of friends. He's got Lady Sif and the Forgettables. I happen to know their names because I've read them enough in a particular fanfic, but we've got Big Beard and Asian Guy and Pasty Face Ginger, who looks like he should be like the Lancer in some forgettable Power Rangers story. But they are so forgettable as characters that when you get to the third movie, spoilers, but they all get killed, and nothing of value or interest is lost. So these friends support Thor in everything he does, no question. And Loki is like, well, so my dad, Odin, Allfather, the wisest person around, doesn't see just how bad a choice Thor is right now. And Thor's friends support him, and the whole country supports him. We can't have him as king because our kingdom's going to get destroyed, so I need to come up with a trick to do something about this. And he actually invites these, in some fashion, invites these frost giants in to kind of disrupt the party by trying to steal this ancient artifact called the Casket of Eternal Winters or something. Casket of Ancient Winters? From the weapons vault. Well, they break in right during the ceremony. The ceremony gets stopped. This big robot thing called the Destroyer kills them. Now, they've already killed a guard. And then Odin and Thor and Loki end up down in the weapons vault looking this over. And Thor is like, they broke into our weapons vault. We need to meet this with the strongest sense that we will not let people invade our land. We need to go to their home and destroy them. Actually, he doesn't say destroy. We need to go to their home and teach them a lesson so they'll never threaten us again. And Odin's like, it's not the fault of the whole people just because a couple of people broke in and did something stupid. And they've died. So I will find out where the leak is, where the problem is. I'll patch it over. This is done. And Thor isn't willing to let that sit. So after a little bit of possible finagling by Loki, Thor ends up going behind Odin's back and crossing what's called the Bifrost Bridge, which is a big rainbow bridge of magic overseen by Heimdall, or Heimdall in the original language, but we're using German pronunciation, I take it, for Viking words. But Heimdall, he oversees the Bifrost, and he's not supposed to let anybody go on it without Odin's permission, but he's also concerned that he's got these all-seeing powers. He can see everything that's going on in all the realms at once, apparently. But he didn't see the ice giants because somehow Loki's got the ability to mask them. To mask himself and to mask the ice giants in some fashion, which is how they got past Heimdall's senses. But, so Heimdall allows them to go on the Bifrost, but he says, if you do this, and there's any danger to Asgard in bringing you back, I will not bring you back. You'll be on your own. And Thor's like, I don't need your protection. And he runs off to Jotunheim, the land of the frost giants, where they find Laufey, the king, and all of these various frost giants. And Thor's postures for a bit, and Loki's like, dude, do you see how many people there are here? We should go. Thor, he's really bad at diplomacy, okay? But he does manage to get through a bit of a conversation with Laufey, who says, you know, I know what war is like. You don't. You're too young to really understand what actual war is like. You've known a few battles. So I will let you go. And we don't need to have this end up in war. But then as Thor is finally sort of maybe listening to reason and turning to go, he says, run on home, princess. Which is actually a reference to one of the myths where Thor and Loki dressed up as women to steal something from a frost giant. Well, Thor can't take an insult like that lying down, so, of course, he starts going to town on these frost giants, and all of his friends start attacking the frost giants. Loki, too, and in fact, Loki actually saves one of the Forgettables, which, he was about to get stabbed, or he'd already been stabbed by this big ice thing. The giants can make ice weapons and stuff, and Loki saved him from being totally destroyed. And in this battle, Loki demonstrates that he's got illusion powers when he, there's an illusion of him there that the frost giant runs through and falls off a cliff. Anyway, they get overrun pretty quickly, and they have to run for the place where the Bifrost went. I'm not really sure if you can summon the Bifrost anywhere or if it's a specific spot. It wasn't very clear on that. They get chased down by this big galumphine monster thing, but Thor destroys it by just ramming... Oh, he's got Mjolnir. Mjolnir is the big hammer, and it will only be picked up by him. Nobody else can pick it up, and it offers him great power, and he can use it if he throws it, and it's like, oh, just let it carry me along. He can fly. But he goes straight through the monster there. It was actually a really interesting chase sequence with the monster. I like that. The monster actually went underneath the ice shelf for a bit, so they thought that they had destroyed it, fallen down into a ravine or something, but it came up in front of them. But Thor destroys it, and then they turn around, and there's way too many ice giants, and they're like, Heimdall, send the Bifrost Bridge, bring us back! And it doesn't happen because it's too dangerous. But then Odin shows up, and he stops the fight, and he says to Laufey, the king, says, can we go by without war here? Because these were the actions of just a couple of boys, not the actions of men, not people who knew what they were doing. And his words ring truer because he was willing to extend that to the frost giants to begin with. But Laufey's like, no, this is war. And Odin's like, okay. And he uses to make it so that all of the frost giants either they're hurt or they back off. And he takes everybody back home. And he's like, well, now we're at war. And Thor is really furious at Odin at this point. And he calls him an old fool. And Odin's like, yes, I am a fool. I'm a fool for thinking you were worthy to take the throne now. And he rips off his cape, the thing that holds his cape on. And he takes Mjolnir from him. Because Odin is the only person who has power over Mjolnir other than Thor. And he says, you are not worthy to wield this power. You are not worthy to be king. You are not worthy to be here in Asgard at all. And he sends him off to Earth, which they call Midgard. He takes away his powers. So he's down to Earth normal or something like it. He does seem to be more powerful than Earth normal. So I would say it's not really that he's human at this point, but maybe close. And Loki tries to interrupt, and Odin's like, Rrr! And like, Odin enchants Mjolnir and says that whoever is worthy, if he picks up the hammer and he's worthy, he'll have the mighty powers of Thor. Something like that. He sends it off to Earth after him. Well, and this was in the teaser, we got to meet a few humans, just so we could care about them a little bit when they bump into Thor after this giant weather phenomenon deposits him down, and they hit him with their storm chaser truck. So we meet Jane Foster, the love interest, Darcy, her best friend, and Selvig, Eric Selvig maybe, who's this scientist, kind of a father figure to Jane. They take Thor to the hospital because he's kind of just wandering around raging and not really coherent. and they think he might be high. And he doesn't take hospital well. He, destroys an entire room of doctors who are trying to help him. And finally, they stick him with a tranquilizer. And this begins, there's a running gag about Thor having his face jammed into glass. In every movie, he has his face jammed into the glass at least once. Anyway, so when Jane and the Storm Chasers analyze their data, they see that Thor came down through it. They have pictures of him being up inside it, the storm, and they're like, oh, crap, we just left our best piece of data back at the hospital. Let's go get him. Meanwhile, Mjolnir has landed in the middle of this field. This is like, I don't know, Arizona, New Mexico or something. Has landed in the middle of this big dirt patch, and it's obviously like a meteor, a big crater or something. And you have the townsfolk discover it, and they start trying to move it, and they can't move it. So they set up, naturally, a big party place, like a little fair. Like, hey, everybody come and try to move the magic thing that won't move. Which lasts until the government shows up, because, when you're thinking about a movie about the gods of Asgard, of course you're thinking that you want a movie about the political ramifications of it as regards the FBI or CIA or some faction like that on Earth. This makes total sense. But they set up this big perimeter, reminds me of E.T. with the big plastic tunnels you can go through. Kind of, but not exactly, trying to keep contaminants out. But in the meantime, our human heroes find Thor and run into him a second time while they're doing that. Like, I swear, I'm not trying to hit you with my truck. I was a little bit disappointed that I didn't have a third, because rule of 3, you hit him twice, you need to hit him a third time with the truck. But anyway, so they take him back to Jane's home, and they try to find out what's going on. And he doesn't tell them everything at first. I feel like I'm going to miss a big section here. They're in a cafe getting breakfast, and Thor's like, cultural miscommunication here. Thor drinks whatever coffee or whatever he had. He's like, I like this. Another! And he crashes his cup down, and they're like, don't do that, man. That's not how we do this thing here. And he's like, I swear that I will not break stuff anymore. And they really take their oath seriously. So I was thinking that was going to come up again in terms of things that he swears. And I think it kind of did. It's a little bit like Tangled. The I swear to abide by the supervillain's plan kind of thing. So it's kind of neat like that. But, so, at the cafe, they overhear about the mysterious meteorite thing that won't move. And Thor's like, aha, that sounds like Mjolnir. And so he kind of says his quick goodbyes to Jane and the group and heads off down the middle of the street with all of the cars honking at him as he tries to figure out where to go. And at first Jane wants to help him, give him a ride, but Selvig is like, that's dangerous. He's clearly mentally imbalanced. You don't want anything to do with him. He ends up going into a pet shop, and he's like, give me a horse. And the guy's like, we don't sell horses. We sell birds, we sell reptiles, we sell mice. It's like, well, fine, give me one of those that's big enough to ride. And about that point, Jane shows up again. It's like, against Selvig's better judgment, I'm going to take you to the place. She drives Thor to the location, just outside the boundary of the thing. I don't think their guards are very good, because Thor manages, despite having no powers at this point, he manages to get in past their perimeter fairly easily. And he's told Jane on the way, the minute that I get Mjolnir, I'll come back and I'll tell you everything. Because he fully expects that he will be able to grab Mjolnir and he will turn back into Thor and have all his powers or something. So he kind of busts his way through their best security measures, just defeats all sorts of these guys. Doesn't kill them because, even though he's a space Viking, he's non-lethal at this point. I'm sure he was that merciful to everybody else he's ever fought. You also have a little bit of a cameo from Hawkeye, who almost shoots Thor, but then doesn't, so why was he even there? I'm still mad at the MCU for not giving Hawkeye a purple outfit. I mean, they made all the other outfits work fine. Why does Hawkeye have to be the one that doesn't get a good outfit? Anyway, when Thor gets all the way to Mjolnir, and it's already raining, and he's already fought in the mud and everything, but he's like, aha! Why can't I move it? Ah! And he just completely loses everything that he had going for him. He just sinks down in the mud on his knees, and the guy in charge of the scene, Coulson, I think, tells they're not bad guys, tells the cops or whatever, agents to move in. So they handcuff him and put him in containment. Meanwhile, back on Asgard, we have this whole Loki plot, because this is more than enough plots for one movie. I'm liking how this parallel goes. Loki has found out, when they were on Jotunheim, one of the Forgettables got grabbed by a frost giant. It really hurt his arm, like big frostbite. When Loki got grabbed by a frost giant, it just turned his arm blue, and it didn't hurt him at all. He's like, what the? And he stabs the frost giant, and it's like, something weird here. And so he goes back. Now, he's been raised since he was a kid to believe that frost giants are basically boogeymen. They are the monsters that parents tell their children about. And so he's like, it can't be. Did something happen to me? Am I a frost giant? And he goes into the weapons vault, and he goes to the Casket of Ancient Winters, and when he touches it, it turns him into a frost giant, his frost giant form. And Odin shows up at that time and tells him to, leave it alone. And Loki turns around, and not only is he now a frost giant, but it's slowly bleeding back to normal. It's like, what am I? Well, you're my son. What more than that? What comes out is that Yoki. What comes out is that Loki actually is a frost giant, that when Odin had been waging war against the frost giants thousands of years ago, or 1,063 years ago or so, he found Loki as a baby, abandoned to die. He's actually Laufey's kid. He's the child of their king. But the Laufey thought he was a runt or whatever and abandoned him. So Odin took him back. Instead of, handing him off to some other frost giant, he just like, nope, mine, yoink. And there's some weird things to be said about conquerors taking children and raising them in the white man's way. So I'll put that aside. But Odin raised him and loved him as far as I can tell from the various movies. It's just that Loki always felt weird and a little bit deficient, and he never knew what it was going on, or why he was treated differently, why he never felt this, like he fit in. And like, now it all makes sense. I'm the monster that parents tell their children about. You never did intend for me to be on the throne. And Odin's like, no, I intended you to be on Jotunheim's throne because maybe we could have a lasting peace if the king of Jotunheim were raised in the house of Odin, internalized our culture enough to not be at war with us, because lasting peace would be nice. And Loki interprets that badly. Like, I'm a relic that you put on the shelf until you have need of me? I'm just no different from the Casket of Ancient Winters. And he is so mad at his dad that his dad is stressed out and falls into what's called the Odin sleep, which is a regenerative trance kind of thing. And Loki is horrified by this. And then he's utterly shocked in a deleted scene when he sits at the bed of Odin and he talks with his mom Frigga about why they lied to him all these years and whether he's actually part of the family or not. The guards come in and they present him with Gungnir, which is the spear that Odin holds and the sign of his title. Well, Odin sleeps and Thor is banished. You are the king. And he's like, what? So he definitely was not at this point seeking power. But then Thor's friends don't buy this. They come in to they've been talking before about how Loki was probably involved in what was going on in some fashion. And he did warn a guard about what they were doing on Jotunheim so that they'd be rescued. They would have died if not for what Loki did. But it makes them very suspicious about his other activities during this time. So when they come in to try and report this to the king and find that he's the king, they don't take it well. So they decide to go get Thor. Loki beats them to the punch by going down, telling Thor, your dad's dead. and your mom wants you to stay here, and I'm king now, and we gotta protect the kingdom, so it's best for you to just stay here. I'm sorry, but this is goodbye. So he kind of crushes Thor completely. Well, Thor is still in custody to the FBI agents or special forces that they have him. And then in the throne room, he tells Thor's friends, I can't undo what Odin did. It would destabilize the balance of power here. I have to respect his wishes as king and rule as best as I can. Which is a pretty reasonable position, you would think. But Thor's friends decide to just go behind his back, go to Heimdall, and try to get back to Earth to save Thor. And Heimdall, who should be the most loyal person to the throne, like, sure, I'll just turn my back and let you walk across to Earth. So, you know, when Loki feels like he's been betrayed and like there's nobody on his side, he's actually correct. He's not operating from an imbalance of perception at this point. So Thor's friends find him, and Thor's like, well, I can't go home. Father's dead, and it's all my fault. And they're like, Father's still alive. What are you talking about? It's like, Loki, he lied to me. Quick, we must go back and stop him. So this is what convinces Jane and the group that Thor is not crazy and not high. Loki actually sends after Thor. He sends the Destroyer, the big robot thing that had killed the Ice Giants earlier, sends it to Earth. Meanwhile, he goes to Jotunheim and arranges for Laufey and a couple of people to sneak into the palace with the aim of killing Odin. But that turns out to be a trick. He's just managed to get Laufey in range of Odin, who can perceive things around him while he's sleeping, so that he can kill him with Gungnir. You've been killed by the son of Odin. And that way he can prove that he's really Odin's son and not Laufey's son, and that, you know, his father will finally be proud of him. And that's just the first phase of his attack. But on Earth, the Destroyer goes to town on this, and they created this entire little town in the southwest there just to destroy it. So they get to have fun blowing up a 7-Eleven and everything. The Forgettables and Sif and they attack the Destroyer while Thor helps to evacuate people. And finally, Thor's like, well, nothing that you've done has worked, so why don't I just try to talk to Loki through the Destroyer? And I honestly don't see what made him think that Loki could hear and communicate with him through the Destroyer, because that was never established to my knowledge. He's like, Loki, stop killing people, just kill me, it's fine. And Loki's like, oh, I can't. Thor goes flying, and it looks like he's dying, but Odin, in his Odin sleep, cries tears because he can perceive what's going on in multiple realms, apparently, or maybe he can perceive what's going on through the eyes of the Destroyer, maybe. Having sacrificed his life in order to save these people, Thor is now worthy, and Odin's power makes Mjolnir fly to Thor. Thor grabs him. He becomes Thor again. He's got all his powers. He destroys the Destroyer. They head back to where the Bifrost would go, and they call it to Heimdall. But the problem is, Loki showed up and kind of accused Heimdall of treason. And Heimdall's like, I was supposed to obey your commands, but it didn't. The thing is, I can see everything, but there's times when you've been out of my cameras, and that makes me nervous and makes me think you're up to something. And Loki, with entire justification, says that he's treasonous, and now he's no longer in charge of the Bifrost, and he's no longer Asgard. He's going to be kicked out. And Heimdall's like, okay. He goes to attack Loki, and Loki he's got the casket of ancient winters, and he just freezes Heimdall in place. And Heimdall's still trying to swing that sword at his neck as he freezes. And Loki's like, okay. He's got the plan, which is to take the Bifrost and use it to aim at Jotunheim, because if he leaves it on, it will slowly shatter Jotunheim. It will destroy the planet entirely. He's like, okay, the way I can prove that I'm not a sympathizer to the ice giants, that I am a true son of Asgard, is I can finish what Odin started. He started the war. They wanted to continue the war. I can destroy them all and save Asgard completely. Thor I'm forgetting how Thor got here if the Bifrost was not working at this point. But anyway, Thor shows up back just in time for Loki to be having the Bifrost slowly destroy Jotunheim. There's these big ice tentacle tree limb things growing up, and Jotunheim is shaking apart. And I don't know how many people actually died by this point, but Thor's like, what are you doing? You need to stop this. There's people down there. And he's like, they're not people. They're just frost giants. They're doing what Father would have done. He's like, no, you can't destroy an entire people for the actions of a few. Like, why not? This will keep us from having war with them ever again. And they duel a little bit verbally before they both whip out their magic weapons and start going at it in a really, really neatly choreographed fight. It was a lot more even than you would expect. You get the build-up of Mjolnir, but you don't get Gungnir as the idea that this is a very strong weapon, and Loki is perfectly capable of holding his own against Thor, with the caveat that neither one of them is going to full power. And when eventually they get up on the Bifrost itself, Loki, in the move that got them onto the Bifrost, Loki appears to fall off the edge. He's like, brother, help me! And Thor's like, okay. And it turns out to be an illusion, and Loki hits him, and it spreads out to a whole bunch of illusionary Lokis. Mirror image by 20, maybe? And Thor's like, enough! And slams Mjolnir down, and he's actually lying down at the time, and it makes a shockwave that disintegrates all of the mirror images, and it sends Loki flying. And while Loki is still dazed, Thor comes over and just puts Mjolnir on his chest, which is a great move until you stop to consider whether Mjolnir stays put or sinks down as far as possible. Because if it stays put, you should be able to push on it, breathe out, and push yourself to the side. And if it sinks down, it's going to kill you because you won't be able to breathe. Every time you breathe out, you won't be able to breathe back in. So, putting that aside, Thor is desperate to stop this destruction of Jotunheim. He tries a couple different things and can't figure out what to do. Loki is laughing. He's like, you can't stop it now, it's too late. And so Thor's like, well, smashing things with hammers always works. And he smashes the Bifrost, and he just keeps going at it. And Loki's like, what are you doing? This means you won't be able to visit Earth again. You won't be able to see that woman that you're so infatuated with. And Thor's like, I don't care. I promised her I'd be back, but this is more important. Blah. And he just manages, just as Loki is reaching him to attack again, he manages to destroy the Bifrost in this big explosion. And they fly up in the air, and then they come down, and Thor manages, let's see, Odin has woken up, and his hair is whiter than ever. So he's really either emotionally distraught by this or low on power. But he's grabbed Thor by the foot. Thor has grabbed Gungnir, and Loki is holding on to the end of Gungnir. And Loki's like, Father, I could have done it. I could have done it for you, for all of us. And Odin is like, no, my son. Or, no, Loki. I think if he had said my son, it would have been a little different. So Loki is so heartbroken that all of his schemes couldn't add up to approval from his father that he just lets go of Gungnir, and he falls in one of the worst CGI shot not CGI, one of the worst camera tricks in the entire thing. This sequence here, it really bugged me visually, but he falls into the wormhole, or the black hole that's down there, presumably dead. Then Thor and Odin talk about things, in the aftermath, and Thor says, there will never be a wiser king or a better father, which makes me think that his standards for fathership are pretty low. But he realizes he can't go back to see Jane. Jane, meanwhile, is working on wormholes to come back and see Thor somehow, or bring him back. And that's how Thor ends. Addendum. So we've had a little discussion to figure out how Thor got back. We recall Thor just yelling at Heimdall for a while, and Heimdall heroically fighting off the frost until he can bring Thor back. And the Bifrost, by the way, is run by Heimdall's sword, which is a major plot point in one of the later flicks. But the thing I'm having trouble recalling is, if this happened at the same time that Loki was using the Bifrost to attack Jotunheim, and Heimdall's up and ready. He's no longer bound by oath since he's no longer part of Asgard. Why wasn't he involved in the final battle? I can't place how Thor came back and Heimdall was activating the Bifrost and Loki was using the Bifrost at the same time. It's all in this one big observatory. So that part is very much confusing me right now. So that's the addendum. We've solved one problem. We can't figure out the rest.